All right, it's been a minute. I've been working on something over the last couple of months, and that is a new multiplayer Godot series. 4.4 dropped a couple months ago, and ever since then, I've been working on a little project. I'm going to start a new series here that will go over this PvE multiplayer game in Godot 4.4. I'll give you a little demo here. First thing we're looking at is a connection manager. So you can connect via Steam or over ENet. And now we're in a little waiting lobby. So I can set a username here if I want, just like so, and it appears on both. And then you can also see that we have a start game button. And now we can run around the world. And there are sound effects and a little wave system. You just have to kill all the enemies on the screen. And that's about it. So a couple of disclaimers before you guys start with this series. We will be going over Godot Steam. However, if you want to test your game with Steam, you will have to have a second computer and a second Steam account. You cannot test on the same computer unless you use a virtual machine like Hyper-V or VMware or whatever you prefer. And that is what I'll be doing in this series to test. So I will make a tutorial on how to use VMware and Ubuntu to test out the game. So that's really the main reason why this connect via ENet option exists, is because it's kind of a pain to test the Steam. But the good news is that you barely ever have to test it on Steam, because after you get the connection made, the rest of the code stays the same. Another thing I would like to state is that this is not a beginner tutorial. So if you're new to Godot, then I would recommend starting somewhere else. However, if you're wanting to learn multiplayer, then you are in the right place. This will be a little bit slower paced than my last series. I'm going to try to go more in depth and everything, so that you guys can learn a little bit more. So in this first episode, we're just going to go ahead and get all of our assets and set up our project here so we can get started making our game. So the first thing you're going to do is open up your Godot editor and create a new project. Save it wherever you like. I'm going to make a folder for it, and then we will create and open this in Godot. So here we are in our new project. I'm going to switch to the 2D tab since this will be a 2D game. And the first thing we need to do is get some game assets. So for this game, we're going to be using the Kenny top-down shooter pack. This will be available down in the description. It is completely free. However, you can donate to him if you like. We're going to go ahead and download this and continue without donating, and then you will download that zip file. Go ahead and unzip it, and we only need a couple of files from this, and those are the tile sheet complete file as well as a character for the game. Now it's up to you which one of these you use. I'm just going to use the man blue, and then I'm going to grab the man blue gun.png. Going to drag and drop that into our project as well so that we have it here. I'm going to rename this to player. I'm going to rename this to just tile sheet. Now the first thing I want to do is set up a little world for us to run around in. So I'm going to start by making a new 2D scene, call it world. And then to this we will add a tile map layer. I'm going to call this ground. And then I'm going to save this under a new folder. I'm going to call this world. And then save it in there. And then additionally, I'm going to take our tileset.png and move it into our world directory. Next, let's come to the right and make a new tile set for this. The resolution for these tiles is 64 by 64. Down at the bottom, we can come to the tile set tab, click the little plus button and Atlas, come into our world and tilesheet.png. It'll ask us if we want to automatically create the tiles in the Atlas. Select yes. And now we have all these tiles to pick from. I'm going to head over to the tile map tab so we can make a little world. And now up at the top left, we have these grass tiles. So what I like to do to give a little bit of variation is select all 4 of these by either dragging or shift clicking. And then up at the top on this little toolbar, we have a place random tile button. What this will do is alternate between each tile. That way everything is nice and unique. From there, we can also select the rect tool and then just drag to fill this whole area in. That looks nice. Let's go ahead and add some trees around the border. So I'm going to add another tile map layer. I'm going to call this decorations. Now this is a little bit weird, but the way I like to do this is go to our ground node and then grab the tile set. So right click on this and select copy right here. And then come back to our decorations and then paste this in. So now we have that tile set from the ground and they're all synced together. And now we can drag and drop on here to draw whatever we like. I'm going to grab our tree, disable the scattering, and also switch to the paint tool. And I'm just going to place these around the map. That way we have a border for our game. And there we go. We now have a nice little border and a nice little world for us to run around in. Now we don't want the players to be able to run outside of the map. So I'm going to come to the decorations node and then click the tile set to expand it out and physics layer and add a new element. Now down in the tile set tab, we can paint this physics layer 0 and fill in these trees. So now the players will not be able to run out of the area. Now that that's done, let's just get a basic player that can run around the world. Add a new scene. This will be a character body 2D. I'm going to call it player. Then I'm going to add a sprite 2D to this. Drag and drop our texture. Save this, and I'm going to make this in a new folder. I'm going to make a new folder called player, just in the root directory, and select save. Then we obviously need a collision shape for this and set a shape for this as well. This is going to be a capsule shape. I find that that fits best. I'm just going to reposition it a little bit, drag it out to fit. And there we go. That's our player setup. Let's go ahead and attach a script to this. Now, as always, I like to have a class name for this. So class name player. So for now, I'm just going to add some basic top-down movement. So we are going to make a exported variable called speed. This will be a float. And we will set this to, for now, 250 should work fine. Then in our physics process, we will go ahead and get the direction of our input. So var dir for direction. And what we can do is use the input.getVector function. And what this will do is take in 4 keys and calculate the difference between all 4 of them and then return an X and a Y. So what we can do is go to project settings, input map, and then add a left, right, up, and down. And of course, assign the keys. That's left, so A, D, W, and S. So now it's going to take in 4 parameters. The first is our negative X, which we want that to be assigned to left. Positive will be right. Negative Y will be up. Positive Y will be down. Now that we have a direction, we need to move the player in the direction that this function returned. So to do that, we just do velocity is equal to direction times speed. And finally, to actually move the player, we need to call the move and slide function. With this now done, let's head to our world scene and drag and drop our player into here. Going to run this scene. And now we have a player that can move around the world, and he should not be able to escape outside of these borders. Now, the next thing I want to do is make it so that the player looks at the mouse. This is super easy to do. I'm just going to make a variable called mouse position and set that equal to get global mouse position. Then just simply call look at mouse position. And now the player looks at the mouse and we have a little basic game going on. There is one thing I do like to do, and that is set up window scaling. So come to project settings, general, window, and then rather than this mode being disabled, we can set this to canvas items and fix whatever that is. And now with that done, the game scales correctly. So with that now done, the next step is to add in some multiplayer aspects. For example, the players. We need to spawn in players. We need to have a way to join and leave the game, shooting, and obviously enemies. So that's all coming in future episodes. The next episode, we will look at spawning in multiple players. Then after that, we'll look at projectiles, etc., etc. And then once we get towards the end, I will show you guys how to integrate this all with Godot Steam, how to set up lobbies, how to make a waiting lobby, as well as the username system that I showed in the beginning of this episode. So we have a lot to do. Thank you guys for all the support on my previous series. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description. I try to help you guys out as much as I can, so leave a comment if you have any issues so far. So with that all said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.